So Darren, are these potatoes for potato chips?
These are chipping potatoes. Chipping potatoes.
I feel like that. I'd be pretty happy if I planted a potato plant and that many, and I pulled it up and that many turned up under it. Something you probably don't know about potato chips, you can only use a fresh potato for that, not like a baking potato. It's got to be a specific size, it's got to be a specific moisture content, and most importantly, it's got to be fresh. In the summertime, June and July, in the eastern part of the United States, there's only one place where fresh potatoes are growing. That's Elizabeth City, North Carolina, the area around here for about 50 miles. So once a year, every May, potato chip buyers from across the country come to Elizabeth City to meet the North Carolina farmers who grow their crop. They'll leave here with contracts for the potato chips you'll be eating on the 4th of July.
The potato industry, when you think about it, the activities that begin on America's family potato farms and go all the way up the supply chain, it means $100 billion a year, every year, to the U.S. economy, and over 700,000 jobs are dependent on all of those activities.
Far and away, potatoes are the most popular vegetable in this country. Second place, and it's a distant second, is tomatoes.
And we think it's a fantastic thing. The potato is America's favorite vegetable. Most widely produced vegetable, most widely consumed vegetable. We don't want a single thing to change with that. We just want that consumption to grow.
This sounds like maybe the message Congress needs to get is every time you're celebrating America's birthday, if you're in DC, you're doing it with North Carolina potato chips.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely right. And the other message they get broadly is if you're doing something on the Farm Bill, if you're doing something through the appropriations process, if you're backing out on government regulations, you're making these growers who generate a tremendous amount of benefit for the U.S. economy even more powerful and creating more jobs and everything else that goes with it. We think there's a lot of benefit in investing a little bit of time in making sure the potato industry is a touch more competitive.
Man, potatoes are everywhere. Therefore, there's Potatoes USA.
Absolutely. And I think that just speaks to some of the marketing we try to do. We really try to make sure that we're representing all U.S. potato growers and ensuring that everybody knows that Idaho isn't the only place growing potatoes, but that we have potatoes all across the nation.
Now, this time of year, in this particular window, coming into the 4th of July, the potatoes that are most in demand, and really on the East Coast, the only fresh crop is this one right here in North Carolina. So that takes what would look like maybe a smaller deal in the big picture, and it kind of elevates the importance of it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really important to think about the environment of where you're growing. Where you grow across the U.S. is going to determine what you could do with that seed and what you could do with those tubers. So when you're growing here in North Carolina, we have the opportunity to find other environments that are similar to North Carolina and partner with them. So it's a really exciting place to be growing and a lot different from the rest of our nation.
But for the last umpteen years, this summertime potato deal, I believe the motto of the North Carolina Potato Association is your summer potatoes, because that's where you're getting your potatoes in the summertime if you're the 80% of the population on the east side of the country. So Potatoes USA, though, you've got kind of a much larger reaching role. You're responsible for marketing potatoes, for letting people know. It's not that people don't know potatoes are there. There's just a lot of information about potatoes. Some of it not correct that gets around. Potatoes are fattening. No, they're not. Right. It's what you do to your potatoes that could make them fattening. What are some of the other things that Potatoes USA does?
So Potatoes USA works to represent growers in whatever capacity they need. The way I like to describe it is if you think about an individual grower, they're going to want to promote the nutrition of their potatoes, just as you were talking about how there's a misconception about fat in potatoes. You may get somebody that wants to do trials and research and try different varieties, and that's really expensive for a grower. But when you get a bunch of people together and create a potato board, which is who I represent, they pool all of their dollars through their assessment and they make a determination of what the potato industry needs, give it to us, and we'll make it happen.
Power in numbers.
Power in numbers.
So this is where an idea turns into action.
Absolutely.
So 8 generations, and you're sitting here at Farabee Farm.
Johnny Farabee Farming.
With the last name Jennings. Especially in an area like this, over this much time in an agricultural community, eventually multiple family lines get blended together.
That's kind of what's happened here for sure. Yeah, you know. And Susan and I got married in '83, and I came to the farm in '85, but grew up on the farm, so it wasn't, you know, wasn't like I didn't have a clue what was going on. And I had worked in a 300 head sour fire to finish operation for 9 years. So I knew a little bit about pigs and I knew a little bit about row cropping, and my father-in-law gave me an opportunity, and at least I had enough brains to take advantage of it. You know, and agriculture for this family is a big deal. For this family, it is a big deal. There's you know, it represents, you know, four young boys here trying to raise a family, and they make payments on houses and pay insurance just like everybody else does. And so we've got to produce enough to take care of Susan and myself and Martha and the 4 of them and the other folks that work here, and our summertime labor that comes here. You know, you know, we're pretty family oriented here. Even when our summertime labor, I mean, we see some of them over and over again, and so it's a big deal for us. Ag is a big deal, and for the whole area. These family farms that are still growing potatoes have been here for, I've heard those names for as long as I can remember. So.
What are some of the unique challenges to growing in this part of North Carolina?
Weather is our biggest obstacle. I think it is definitely our biggest obstacle, because we can go from being wet to extremely dry so fast. And, you know, we can be praying for it to stop raining one month and praying for a rain the next month, you know, and that's how it is. But, you know, on the coast, it's just those ocean winds, where they're coming out of the northeast or the southwest or southeast or whatever, they can be a problem for us. And then, like you say, you talked about the hurricanes, and that at harvest, most time we get them is sometime would be in August or September at harvest time, and that can cause big problems.
Now, what about the generation beyond your sons and nephews who have come home now and are here now? Looking forward, some of these questions almost get a little hard to ask when you look at the future, that next generation, the next generation. What kind of future is there, Jeff, and what kind of future is there here?
That's a big concern of ours right now. Is, you know, I'm still worrying about that generation that's here, the 4 that are here right now when I'm gone, because they're between the ages of I'll say 38 and 32, and there's 4 of them, and so they've got lots of years left. But what's it going to be like for them? And then you think about the state of this country, where we are right now, and what's going on in the world, and I don't think you can answer that question. I don't think anybody can answer that question. Because right now I worry about my grandchildren and Martha's grandchildren, and what's going to happen for them, because with I don't think there's anybody on the face of this earth can answer that question, to be honest with you. You're going to worry about it. I worry about it. It's just natural to worry about it. But I worry about the 4 that are here. And then when you think about their children, it's like, you know, what's going to happen? I don't know how you answer that question.
So Ethan, 8th generation running around these doors.
Yes, sir. Me and my 3 cousins are the 8th generation continuing to farm.
Now, I'm sure you guys were running around out here when you were kids, running around these fields, doing what farm kids do. You were helpful. I know you had real jobs and you had real chores and real tasks, but looking back on it, you were kind of play farming then.
At times, we got reprimanded a time or two, but we thought we were working anyways.
So, and it's one thing to be out here and go, oh, this is great, and we're helping Daddy, and we're helping uncles, and we're helping everybody, and we're doing what the family does, but we're also kids, and we're playing. Maybe get a couple of bucks in our pockets for gum. And
yeah, we had some spending money growing up. That was nice. And, you know, we learned a valuable work ethic at a young age and what hard work looked like. They represented that well to us.
So all of this is set up for really a 6-week season.
Yes, sir. Yep.
It's about
5 to 6 weeks.
It's about your potato season. You're going to run wide open for 5 to 6 weeks.
Yes, sir.
The things that it takes, even for that, for a 6-week season, this looks pretty new.
Yes, sir.
Right here, Ethan.
This is brand new. Put it in this winter.
What is this? A packer grader?
It's a potato sorter. So it sorts it by size and it sorts it by grade. And you see all the different lanes here that take it to various places based on size and quality of the potato.
Did you like potatoes when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, eat them with every meal just about. Yeah.
You'd about have to in this family, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's probably impossible for people to understand and imagine that once that 5 or 6 week window starts, it completely takes over your lives.
Yes, sir. Yep, we're here. We're grading potatoes typically 6 days a week, and that 7th day we're typically loading trucks in and out during the day. And
they're digging them as fast as they can. They're plowing them up as fast as they can. They're coming in here, just streams, truck after truck after truck.
Those 10-wheelers back there, haul them from the field, from the digger, and bring them up here, and then go back there and get washed and cleaned up, and come in here pretty clean, and, you know, get sorted in size, as I was telling you, and go to the appropriate place.
And then all these machines are whirring and humming, and there's
people
and there's
everywhere.
people in the fields, and it's just
forklifts buzzing around.
And it's an anthill.
It is.
It's just an anthill at that point in time.
It looks chaotic, but it's organized chaos.
Do you love it?
I do. Yep. It's just something that's in your blood. You know, we've watched my granddaddy do it, and watched my mom, my aunt, and uncle do it, and now all of us are doing it together. It's a fun experience, and hopefully one day I'll get to do it with my kids if they choose to. So my nieces and, you know, whoever else comes along.
We've been so focused on this little area of North Carolina, these potatoes, but we talked a lot about where they go and how on the 4th of July, everybody in the eastern half of the United States is eating North Carolina potato chips. So they are the potatoes already know how to travel. You're kind of upping the game a little bit. You've got a fascinating project going on in Cuba.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So we were approached with Taters USA a few years ago about doing, possibly doing some trials into Cuba. And the Cuban trials is looking for basically seed, or not really seed, but it is seed, but varieties that work well in Cuba. And there's
that's a hot, really tropical climate.
Exactly, tropical.
Kind of a lot like North Carolina in the summertime.
It is. It's exactly what it is. It's a lot like North Carolina summertime. We get rainfalls, we get thunderstorms. We're looking at 85 to 90 degree temperatures in the same way there. So if a variety works here, it should work there.
Right. Does Cuba have a potato industry now? I mean, we think of Cuba as sugarcane, 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 and I'm sure there's a whole lot of that. But do they have a potato program going now?
They do have a potato program, and they've been having potatoes for, I mean, they grow potatoes there for years and years and years. It's nothing, this is nothing new for Cuba. But they want to ramp up their potato production.
They're gonna need to get seed from somewhere else. A lot of growers do anyway. So far it's been the Netherlands. Now it looks like North Carolina is going to slide right along in here beside them.
And Cuba wants to feed their people. You know, they are a communist country, and they want to feed their people. And they see the value of potatoes, and that's why they want to increase their you know, it's a very.
So they're not even looking at it as an export deal. They're not looking at it as a crop to grow to ship somewhere else. They're looking at it as a crop to grow to stay here and feed hungry people in their country.
Absolutely.
Wow. So it's not a done deal. You're about 1 year into the first field trials. And one of the things that we're learning, you know, Mark from NC State explained to us the way they trial the potatoes. You got to give them a year to see if they're even going to be worth trying a second year. And then that second year tells you more. And maybe that third year, how far along in the Cuban deal are you?
So this will be our second year doing trials. And
so you got one under your belt.
One under my belt.
How'd that go?
It went well. We visited with myself and Tommy Fleetwood from North Carolina, the Department of Ag, Went with 2 representatives with Potatoes US of A and met with the growers and met with the state, and actually saw our potatoes being harvested.
Wow.
And so, you know, that was kind of, I mean, first off, you know, you want to make sure that they're going to grow in that condition, you have good seed quality and just a good product.
You want to be as proud of that potato there as you are of these potatoes here.
100%, absolutely. Yep. So, I mean, I want to do a good job and just keep, you know, provide good, safe, healthy, clean food. And that's what we strive for, and for what we do. So it's going to be a long process. This is nothing that's going to be overnight, but the opportunity that's there, and you know, I think the payoffs are going to be tremendous. Not just for me, but I think for Eastern North Carolina.
So, a couple more years in the Cuban trial, or do you know, or?
We'll see. Like I said, it's going to be, if everything works out, and it all depends on how those varieties work over there. So, you know, we'll keep doing it and see what happens. And then, but there is one particular variety that the Cubans have to look at for 1 more year, and if it does look good, then they'll start some commercial production.
Right. That's got to be crazy to lay in bed at night and stare at the ceiling and go, we're going to be feeding people in Cuba from North Carolina.
Yeah, with the seeds that we have here.
Tommy Fleetwood, for 30 years now, you have been the chief cook and bottle washer for the North Carolina Potato Association. That's a group that represents all of these growers, all of these good people we've seen and gone out in their fields. You don't grow potatoes, but you sure do help them with their business.
Yeah, Chip, it's been a fantastic 30 years too, and it's a great organization. You know, all the potato growers in North Carolina, they come together, and you know, they're all competitors, but for the industry, they all come together to make things work, make things happen, and to keep their industry secure. And we work with the national groups like Potatoes USA and National Potato Council. And I always tell people that the potato industry in this country has their arms around the industry better than probably any commodity there is, and that's a great thing.
And the association is why we're here, why all these growers are here, why all the potato buyers are here. Once a year in Elizabeth City, you have an annual meeting of the North Carolina Potato Association, and it is really specifically to keep people up to date on what's happening, to give them information, and to give them an opportunity to connect with these buyers who are coming here looking for their summer potatoes.
That's right, Chip, and it's been a great event, and we've been doing this thing for years and years and years, kind of the same way, over and over and over, but it works. And their interest was to come into this area. This is where most of the potatoes in North Carolina are grown. They want to come into the area, see the crop, see the growers, and that's the way this industry is. It's still a face-to-face industry.
This June-July window, produce also turns on windows, having a market window in North Carolina. I don't know, Tommy, how far back does this go? But the fresh potato crop, by the time you get around to May or so, the storage potatoes are gone. They've petered out. The potato chip companies have to have potatoes to make the 4th of July window, or none of us could have potato chips at our picnics.
That's correct. And it's been that way forever. You know, storage potatoes in Maine and New York and Idaho and Montana and Colorado and all the storage states, you know, they harvest in August, September, and put them in storage and ship out of that storage all year long. Well, about this time of the year, those storage crops are either becoming depleted in some areas, or the quality isn't what it needs to be.
Sure.
So that's when our niche window, I call it niche window, an opportunity to ship to market comes into play. So we start about mid-June and go through the end of July, sometimes a little bit into August, just depending on how big the crop is and all. But it gives us a great opportunity. I mean, who would think North Carolina grows potatoes, right?
There's other places they could get potatoes, but a lot of these manufacturers are in the eastern part of the country.
That's correct.
They don't want to take them any further than they have to. They want to get them as fresh as they possibly can and keep that production going. You can't afford to go to the grocery store and have people not find the potato chips they're looking for.
That's for sure. You know, Publix, Harris Teeter, Food Line, wherever, they want them in the store. And of course, Utz and Hers and Frito and all the other major Y's and all the other major chip companies.
Names you know and some you've never heard of, but they're all looking at this part of North Carolina at this time of year.
Correct.
And it all starts right here at this little potato show.
And it's great. You know, it's good for everybody. Good for the industry, good for the growers, good for the economy in this area. So, but we have agribusiness people here. The whole industry kind of comes together at this event. So we have fertilizer people, buyers, we have the growers, we have all kinds
the
of
research community, the scientific interests are represented. And at the end of the day, we look and there's not a lot of people in that room, and you may say in the big scheme of things, it might look like small potatoes, but it's not small potatoes to the people it feeds, the lives it supports, and all of those lovely summer picnics that you'll look forward to. Bet you didn't know you were celebrating with North Carolina out here, where the food comes from.